I was born and raised in London Town Houses Community Cooperative. It's on the south side of Chicago, right by 100th and Cottage Grove. In my neighborhood, there are not that many success stories that come from people of our neighborhood. Most people are second or third generation live-ins of London Town. A lot of the males my age are either living with their mothers without a job, without schooling, or they are living behind bars right now. At 12 years old, one of my friend's mother told me, well, Maurice, when you're 18, you're going to be one of two things. You're going to be in jail or you're going to be dead. And I went home and I told my mother that. And my mother said, well, son, no, you're not going to be because I raised you better than that. And although we don't have the means to send you to school and means to do any and everything that you want to do, I've instilled this drive in you to succeed. And my mother instilled that drive in me very toughly from that point at 12 years old until I graduated high school. And when I graduated high school, that summer before I started my first semester at college, I saw a lot of my friends go to jail. I saw a lot of my friends turn their lives over to selling drugs or to being very hardcore gang members. But my mother's instilled message still sat with me. It still said that I had to succeed the right way so that I can make her proud, make myself proud, and become something other than a statistic in the system that is America right now. But then I started college at the University of Illinois, Chicago, right down the street, around the corner. And I ran into a wall. I ran into the financial wall that a lot of people that come to JFY run into. I ran into the wall of a lot of finances to cover and not enough financial aid. And I began looking for a job, maybe a part-time job, maybe a McDonald's job to do while I was in school. On paper, it said that I was brilliant, but I couldn't find a way to make that into a resume or make that into a strong interview because I used to get very, very, very nervous when I would get into that interview and they would ask that one question that always got me, describe to me one of your weaknesses. And I never knew how to answer that question. Never, ever knew how to answer that question. But long story short, 2007 in December, around this time, 2 years ago, my mother, the rock of my life, had a heart attack, December 1st. And the following week, I had a letter from UIC saying I was no longer going to receive financial aid, but I could not come back to school until I found a way to pay for $17,000 worth of schooling. So in 1 week, the rock of my life had a fault point. She had a heart attack. She's still here today, thank God. But the next week, I was told that I couldn't continue to strive for the dream that I had of success. And although I've been looking for a job and never found one, looking for a job, in March of 2008, I got a Facebook message, thank God for Facebook, from a friend of mine, Corey Barber, who's also a graduate of JFY. She said, Maurice, I know you've been looking since you started college. Talk to JFY, they'll be able to help you. I contacted JFY mid-March. I took my placement test to come into the program. I started on a Wednesday, right towards the end of March, and I met Mr. Steve Smith, who's in the back right now. Hi, Steve. I met Mr. Steve Smith, and the first thing he wanted to talk about when we first started our workshop that Wednesday morning were the 10 laws of life. And those 10 laws were so connected to what my mother was trying to teach me. And then he talked about the 3 A's of employment, and those were attitude, attendance, and achievement. You come with the right attitude into that interview, or you come to your workplace with that right attitude, and it'll make everything afterwards that much better. And then it was attendance right after that. And at first I was like, okay, you get a job, you go to work. But then he said if you come to work on time or early, you're that much better and that much more efficient throughout your workday. And a lot of people never taught me that. They just told me, go to work, do a good job, and come home. But then the achievement part, which is what I was really honing in on, if you achieve well in the workplace, You get to retain your job. You get to move up in your job. And you just have all of these wonderful things happen because you have the right attitude, the right type of attendance, and the right amount of achievement. And I finished the workshop April 4th. I had a job offer and a job placement on April 13th with this program. So Jobs for Youth took me from a 2.5-year search to a 7-day turnaround virtually, because my interview was on Friday and they told me I should come in on Monday. And I'm still working at that same place right now, which is the RTA Travel Information Center. So from the wonderful amounts of wisdom and encouragement that JFY gave, I was able to go from 2.5 years to 7 days, and now I'm looking at promotions at RTA Travel Information Center. I'm looking at the opportunity of getting a better job at elsewhere and still be able to go to school in this coming January, thanks to the wonderful, wonderful experience from JFY. And another question that was asked of me was to describe Washington, D.C. in a little bit of detail. When JFY called me this past August, they asked me, Maurice, would you like to go to Washington, D.C.? And my first reaction was, of course. There was no question. Like, of course I want to go to my nation's capital, because I've never been able to go before. What they didn't tell me was that they were going to fund my hotel. They didn't tell me that Mr. Andrew Abrams was going to be an awesome partner to have on this trip because he had funny jokes, he had wonderful advice, and he actually paid for my cab ride back to the airport. Awesome. Awesome guy, right? Awesome guy. Somebody give him a hand, please. But beyond just the experience of being able to speak to a lot of people who, just like you, are interested in this cause, Andrew and I got to tour a little bit of the city. We got to see some of the wonderful things that were around the DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. I got to see a wonderful statue of Gandhi that I'm still talking about to my mother to this day. I got to see statues of George Washington. I got to see a lot of the embassies from a lot of the countries. Andrew and I actually played Name That Flag for about 15 minutes. It was a wonderful experience. But as Andrew alluded, they asked me and the other 3 students of these wonderful programs, what would you say? And the reason I said don't give up on us is because there's a lot of talent that comes from places like where I've come from, that comes from the demographic that I come from. There's a lot of talent here, and with programs like JFY, that talent can be formulated and can be taught how to be not just talent, but to be a reality in this economy. Instead of being potential, we can be practicing success. And with people like you who support the vision, people who fund the vision, and people who just really just say, you can do it, you guys just make us feel that much better, and you push us into success. And I would like to thank you for your time.